Hello there guys, just a quick video for you today. This is a kit that I recently bought from Hannants, one of my few purchases so far this year actually, and it was on sale and I thought it's quite unusual both in its look and the fact that it's Italian. I don't really have many Italian kits, or kits of Italian subjects should I say, so I snapped it up. This is the Lancia 3RO truck in the ammunition carrier variant. And this seems to fall in line with IBG's tendency to produce unusual subjects in a variety of forms. So for example, they've also released the same truck here, but with a 100mm howitzer in the back. They've got a troop carrier version here with an open back. A general purpose version here with a covered rear. A similar version again, but this time in German service. And then another version here, which I think is the same as the other howitzer version, but with a crew. And of course the ammunition truck version that I've got. They also produce this truck here with the anti-aircraft gun in the back, although Scalemates doesn't list that in the same lineage as the kit that I've got here, so I'm not sure if the base truck is the same or not. Either way, unusual subjects, and should be quite an interesting build. I couldn't find any archive photos of the ammunition carrier version of this truck, but there are plenty of other pictures of the truck in both civilian and military use. This truck was first produced by Lancia in 1938 and saw service throughout World War II, and also in the Abyssinian War, which Italy fought in modern-day Ethiopia between 1935 and 1937. After the capitulation of the Italians in 1943, many of these trucks were taken by the Germans, which is why you also see them in German service and German camouflage in some reference photos. So we've got the typical lovely artwork that IBG give us on our boxes here, with a few of the other kits mentioned on the first side, and then a simple colour scheme on the second side. Let's take a look inside at the instructions. Again, like the other IBG kits that I've bought but haven't built yet. Oops. These are nice and colourful, at least on the front. Glossy paper. We've got colour recommendations there on the front, which includes a number of manufacturers, not Tamiya though, but that's fine. We'll try and figure out an appropriate colour for this later on. Got a sprue map on the inside. Quite a lot of small parts here, I notice. There don't seem to be that many parts in general, but there do seem to be quite a lot of small parts. We start by making up the wheels. These are all styrene plastic wheels, which is nice. I don't like the rubber ones so much. And then on to the engine detail. I suppose if you wanted to, if you're going to keep the bonnet, the hood closed, you could skip quite a lot of this detail. But I don't want to. I feel like I'm envisaging this truck maybe pulled over on a desert road somewhere, overheating, and if I can get it, maybe a figure looking inside or something. But I would quite like to do the engine detail when I build this. Step 7 has us making up the chassis, and we'll have to be careful there, I think, to get that framing nice and square. That's got, what, 7 pieces joining the two sides together. And then lots of detail in the next few steps there. Many chances there, I think, to break pieces off during construction later on. Suspension elements going on in step 12. This whole chassis construction goes all the way down here to step 16. Lots of detail by the looks of it. Hopefully some of that will still be visible because the cab and the rear are quite high on this vehicle. Spare wheel mounting there in step 17, and then step 18 has us bring the engine and the radiator onto that chassis. Some more underside details in step 19 with some photo etch as well by the looks of it. Step plates there. And then attaching the wheels in step 20, but I'm unlikely to do it there, I think. Although it probably would help keeping all those delicate parts off the desk and therefore not getting bent or damaged. Step 21, it looks like we're making up the seat. And then moving on to the interior of the cab. Lots of details there in step 24, levers and switches and things like that. We've got the pedals in there. That's great to see. And again, if we leave that door open, that will mean that there's plenty to see in there, not just an empty box. The cab goes together there in step 25, and it says optional door open or closed, which is great to see. They've moulded that separately for us. 27 has the cab mounting to the chassis. Again, depending on the paint sequence, it might be worth leaving that till later. Mudguards and the bonnet going on there in step 28 and 29. Interestingly there in step 29, it doesn't mention that that bonnet can be left open. That's quite surprising. The door did say that, so I'm surprised it doesn't say that for the bonnet. I'm sure we can do that, but it doesn't actually mention it explicitly. Looks like we had a few more details here. The lights, the width indicators, a few more underside details too. I'm not sure what they are, apart from being photo etch. The exhaust in 33, and then it looks like step 34 moves us on to the tailgate. We've got a step there which can be folded down to allow access to the rear, and then step 35, these are the I guess the big difference between this and the other kits in the range is the ammunition boxes. And it looks like we get, what, 6 layers of shells there for those. So that's great. It's not just a top level moulded on shell or a closed box with nothing inside it. We've got plenty of levels of shells. So we could build some of those half empty, or even completely empty, I guess. Although that does imply, with all that detail, that we want to build them with the lids open. Not sure how realistic that would be unless the ammunition was being actively loaded or unloaded, but it would seem a bit weird just to mould those boxes all closed. Maybe we could have something where the truck is stuck somehow, and maybe the ammunition has been unloaded to reduce the weight in the truck. I don't know, to get it out of some mud or something, or some sand. Over the page and the flatbed at the back is being built up. Quite a simple construction. 3 sides, a base and a series of strengthening bars at the bottom. Metal framework. Mudguards attaching directly to it. It does say here, for the version with a battery frame, use these parts here, otherwise use these other parts. I'm not sure what that means. I haven't seen a battery frame explicitly mentioned anywhere in the text. I'll have to look that up, and it says it further down the page here again as well. Our ammunition boxes go into the rear in step 39. And then step 40 looks like it's going to be a challenge. We've got those metal frames there, or what's supposed to be metal frames, for the canvas top. That's going to be interesting to put those on and get everything aligned, and also not break them getting them off the sprues. Lovely CAD style images though here in the instructions. That looks really solid. I really like the look of this. And then on the rear, single colour scheme, North Africa 1941, overall yellow, with some optional decals for the door and some decals to identify the front and rear. All good stuff. So let's take a quick look at some of the sprues. Let's start with the wheels that were first in the instructions. As I say, plastic injection moulded rather than rubber. And you can see we've even got the Pirelli name in there, which is very nice. I really like those. I reckon they're going to paint up and weather very well. We've got 4 sprues of shells for those ammunition carriers, rather handily in these plastic bags with the seal at the top that can be resealed. Only some of the sprues are in there, as I'm not quite sure why. But again, all one-piece mouldings for the shells. Looks like they just stack on top of each other, but we can paint them individually so we can get in all those nooks and crannies and recesses and then just stack them up inside the ammunition boxes. It doesn't look like there's a way for us to have those shells separate though, so we couldn't have people carrying them, for example, without cutting off the moulded in holders. Then we've got these small sprues here with the back of the truck, the cargo area. There's a few patterns there where the plastic has flowed into the moulding, but I think that's just discoloration. I don't think it's texture on the piece itself, so it should be covered up okay with paint. No wood texture on that paint, but any wood texture in 1/35th scale is going to be massively exaggerated anyway. If we wanted some, we could always sand it down lightly. Pieces here for the cab, looks like the cab floor, the footwell, and then what I think is going to be one of the most difficult parts, at least to remove from the sprue, is these sections for the rear of the truck to hold the canvas. Very thin plastic, quite thick sprues. It might be almost worth considering replacing those with some metal brass pieces of my own. In this sealed bag here we have various parts for the engine, I think it is, and the suspension system. Yeah, a few pieces there for the wheels, like a radiator grille there with some really sharp, crisp detail on it. Parts of the suspension here, the steering wheel, the exhaust, all looking really good. Nothing broken on the sprue as well, which is nice to see, considering how delicate these parts are. Another small sprue here, that's the radiator for the front. We do have a photo etch radiator I think as well, but that looks so finely detailed. Suspension components. Is that piece there broken? It's certainly got some stress marks in it. I'm not sure if that should be flat or not. I need to check the instructions for that one. It looks like it might have been a bit squashed in the box. A small number of clear parts, as we'd expect, just the window screen and the side windows, and some lights. And then less photo etch than I thought, looking at the instructions. All quite small parts here, including that grille. And you can see my fingers through that grille, that's how finely etched it is. A fairly simple decal sheet there, and it wasn't actually clear on the instructions, but it looks like we can make up the numbers there that go on the truck to identify it. So there we go guys, that was a very quick look at this IBG 1/35th scale Lancia Italian truck in the ammunition carrier variant. Like all my kits, I am actually quite excited about building this, and I hope I'll get around to doing so fairly soon. I do have a few other projects in the pipeline, and I haven't forgotten about long-term projects like the Prince of Wales, which is still waiting for most of its photo etch to go in place. There are a couple of Italian World War II figures available to 3D print from one of the creators that I follow on Patreon. So that's a possibility to go with this truck. Ideally I would like somebody who's sort of looking into the engine, or maybe just sitting waiting dejectedly with a sort of broken down truck. But that's something I definitely want to consider for displaying this vehicle. My next video is going to be a build and painting video, so please do stay tuned for that. I would like to say thank you to all of you for watching. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members. Your support is massively appreciated. Thank you very much, guys. I hope to see all of you in the next video, and until then, have fun modelling.